Hi, it is another Saturday. So, welcome everyone to the Hot Up Nation Talk Show. This is another episode of the show, and we have like some beautiful discussions that we're going to have today. And today we'll be looking into gender equality and gender roles in the 21st century. We'll be looking at basically on African view. When I say African view, we're going to base it on the youth, African, what they think was that their perspective about gender roles and then gender equality, because we all know that the United Nations identifies gender equality as goals number 5, okay, to reach, in 2030. That's part of the 17 sustainable development goals. But the question is it going to happen by 2030? What have been done so far? What are the steps that have been taken? So we have guests in this show that are going to, discuss with us what it is all about. And usually they say women first. Then I have someone that you've seen probably on my shows before, and she's always out there. Let me introduce to you Roslyn Adewi, and she's a gender advocate. Hi, Roslyn.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm fine, I'm good, and you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for accepting to be on the show.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so Roslyn Adewi is the gender advocate. I mean, if you've been on my Facebook page, you see the long biography about her. There's a lot we can actually be talking about today, but if you want, go on my page. You will see her blog is there. You can read everything about her, whatever you want to know. Also on the show this morning, it's someone you've probably seen also, talking to me many times ago. Here he is today back on the show. Kehinde Tijani Olusegun. Hi, Kenny.
Hi, everyone. Kehinde Tijani, live here, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Hore, for inviting me.
Exactly. So Kendi Tijani is a social analyst, a philosopher. So with him and then with Roslyn Adewi, right, this morning, this afternoon, whatever you are, we are going to be looking a little bit into gender advocacy, gender equality, gender roles, and whatever they are. Guys, so if you're ready, just go on the platforms as you can see them showing on the screen right there on Facebook, on Instagram. Just follow us and then drop your comments, whatever you think about all the discussions that are going to happen here this morning. Drop your comment and then we'll have them on the screen and discuss about it. So if you're ready, let's the hangout start now. All right, like I mentioned earlier, the United Nations identifies gender equality as goals number 5 of its 17 sustainable development goals to hit by 2030. But many people believe that, well, with things happening, it might not happen by 2030. So then, if we're talking about gender equality, probably because there is what they call gender inequality. So there must be inequality for there to be equality. But let's talk about what it means when we're talking about gender equality. So let me go to Roslyn Dewi, being a gender advocate. So Roslyn, why do we talk about gender advocacy, gender equality? What is it all about?
Okay, the reason why we talk about gender equality is because there is gender inequality, first and foremost. And one thing I would like to establish is that talking about gender equality, I realize that quite a number of people misconstrue the word equality because when they hear about equality, some people they're not receptive to the word equality because they believe that equality means that okay, men and women they are the same. Equality does not mean sameness. So I would tell people gender equality does not mean gender sameness. Men and women, they are not the same. Like we are different, so to say. So what I would say is that we have different physiological makeup, different anatomical makeup, and all that. However, equality is saying that men and women have equal value, men and women have equal worth in the society. It's not like okay, men are superior, women are inferior. They are both equal. Of course, they are not the same, they are different. So it doesn't mean they are the same. Like gender equality does not mean sameness. It just means that okay, we have equal value, we have equal worth, and we are different. And those differences actually for me should actually be used in a complementary way. Like okay, men have their strengths, women also have their areas of weaknesses. Women have their own areas of strength and men have their own areas of weaknesses. And I'll always tell people, for example, men are actually physically stronger. It's not something I wouldn't want to actually fight that. I know that's the strength of a man. And if there are aspects that I feel like a man will help me because he's actually physically stronger. I'm open to that. And they always say women we tend to have this intuition. If there are areas I feel like I can help a man with my intuition, yes, let's go for it. So let's combine, let's help each other. That's one thing I believe. And I always use the what's it called, the analogy of reproduction to actually explain this to people, that when during reproduction the man gives, the woman receives, that we should actually, like, use the analogy and take it to our everyday life, whereby men and women, they come back, they come together to actually achieve something. However, unfortunately, in our society, we realize that men and women, there have actually been, discrimination against women over the years. So women are now trying to say that, what, we're also human beings. Please do not treat us as inferior beings or maybe like second class citizens. We also deserve rights in the society. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's a pretty said. I mean, the definition is men, and then it's clear. Candidate journey. You as a man now, it's kind of belief. The belief is actually that, it's because that women, they are treated in some kind of way, so that's why they are fighting today. For kind of freedom, for kind of equality. But as a social analyst, like in a general view, what do you have to say about this?
Okay. I would say that I appreciate the comment Rosalind just rendered a few minutes ago, and I would particularly want to applaud that kind of reasoning. Borrowing from that, I would say that women have been discriminated against over the years. Of course, we saw the first wave of feminism, the second wave, the third wave. But what I currently see now, just to problematize the issue, what I currently see are women that are no longer fighting for the right of women in the outside world. Now, we must be able to make a clear-cut distinction: the public space and the private space. You know, William Frederick Engels rather, would make this particular classification. And this distinction really helps us to situate the issue a lot better. Rightly said, a woman has every right. There is no glass ceiling for the height that a woman can reach in terms of achievement and how far she can go. A woman can be the CEO, a woman can even be the president. And by virtue of your humanity, you have every access, to everything that a man definitely has, right? And we see that the fight for feminism, especially the likes of Mary Wollstonecraft, scholars like Kimberly Crenshaw, the theory of intersectionality, they've been able to push that narrative. And we realized that, with this kind of advocacy for women rights, for suffrage rights, for the right of women to go as far in their career, it has become really, really established, and women are now making inroads into this public sphere, right? But the misconception that we are now facing, especially from women, is the fact that many of them have now used these so-called achievements in the outside space, and it has gotten into their heads, and it's now a fight against men, sort of. It's now a case of, I cannot wake up. I don't want to jump the gun, but a case
Okay.
of, I cannot wake up at 4 a.m. to cook for my man, cook for my family at
Wait,
home. I don't
are
want
you
to.
are you trying to be Mommy Z right now?
I just want us to quickly dive right into the
Okay.
issue. Yes, definitely, women have. I concur with I agree with the opinion that yes, women can achieve a whole lot, in the outside space, but in the home and the family, how is feminism affecting, the structure of our institution of marriage? How is it affecting the home? These are the real issues. A lot of people don't want to get into marriage, but I will stop there. A lot of people don't want to get into marriage because they are afraid of the kind of woman or the kind of man that they will be with, because they don't want to feel oppressed. They don't want to feel depressed at home. They don't want to feel enslaved. This is women talking as a result of their achievement in the outside space. But yeah, I'll leave this for now. And then when we dive right into the nitty gritty of the issues, I can unearth my analysis.
All right. So, Okay, as we said, we are going to, because if we said we're going to be talking about gender roles like in a general view, it's going to take, like, it's going to go wide. Okay, now the reason why I said we are looking into it as an African, like African youth, is just to look at relationships today, the question of, working, going to work. Those are the two segments we're going to be looking at, at work and also probably in relationships, because there are a lot to be talking about. But let me go back to Rose. Rose, do you think, so far so good, as a gender advocate, do you think a progress like has been made, in some years? Because being on the United Nations, platform, well, they will say like they wanted to achieve this by 2030, but right now they feel it's not going to work. So how do you feel about that?
Oh, well, I would say it's quite saddening. But then, for progress to be made, sometimes it takes a lot of years. But I would actually say that, to be fair, a lot of progress have been made so far, so good. Because you always say that, I always tell people that the progress that has been made so far is just like a drop in the ocean, like yeah, a drop of water in the ocean, so to say. It's actually been a gradual process. And one thing I would say is that I remember, like, before there used to be issues around female genital mutilation, but I noticed that, okay, so I there's a particular woman who actually like makes my mom's hair, and she told me that her first, I think, three daughters, they were actually like the whole female genital mutilation was done to them, but the last daughter, it was not done to her because of awareness. So you can see the progress that has been made, even in terms of education. My grandmother didn't go to school. My mother went to school. I also went to school. So you can see that generational, should I say, difference in terms of exposure, in terms of awareness about issues around gender equality. So I would say that it's actually a sort of miss. Progress has been made. However, we still have a lot to do overall.
Okay, however, now, um let me go to Kenny. Kenny, just here yesterday, I mean, basically just yesterday, I was talking to someone, and they said this. They said, to African men, women are second class citizen. And then when Rosaline was talking, when she was explaining the reasons why we have to talk about gender equality, she mentioned something like that. So what's your view on that?
I think that person and that view is completely false and is skewed. African men should not carry on with the narrative that women are inferior beings to them. Um, the understanding is this: if we know the place of the home, um, in the family, the man is the head of the home. That is the structure that has been put in place. The woman is also a co-pilot. That's how I put it.
Okay.
And my own understanding is there can't be two heads in the home, right? And men must be, while being the head of the home and being, of course, the one that the family looks up to, for several other reasons. We should not now sub, subsume the place and the value of a woman. A woman has a womb. She carries life within her. You, of course, as a result of sexual intercourse, the woman takes in. She nurtures. The nurturing effect that a woman possesses should never be devalued. So I do not agree with the view that women are second-class citizens. I do not think that that is outright extreme misogyny. And I don't think that anyone that is holding that kind of view in this 21st century needs a brain check. So I think that, yes, a man is the head of the home. He has certain qualities. I mean, that of course, by nature and by structure, he leads the home. But a woman's place must always be admired and valued because her contribution to the scheme of things. As a matter of fact, women are practically the ones that make most of the decisions at home. The man is just the one that authenticates it because they have that ambience, the emotional intelligence, all of that a woman possesses. A man does not know how the monthly menstrual cycle runs. He doesn't understand that. Perhaps if he experiences that, he may not even survive. So we should understand the place by virtue of our body physiognomy. by body of our anatomical structure, a man and a woman are women and women are different, but on the basis of that, even in the home. Now, my understanding is that in the public sphere, a woman can go as far as she wants. Even at home, cooking in the kitchen, doing all of these things does not make you a second class citizen, does not make you subservient to your husband, does not make you a slave. Of course, there is this trending issue, Mommy Z, and all of that that is coming. But I won't go there. But responding to your question, Horeb, that opinion is skewed. African men should have a rethink. Women are not second class citizens. While a man is the head of the home, a woman is no less valuable in the scheme of things. And there has to be a complementary, dialogue and activity for peace and tranquility to reign in the family. So, yes, that view is completely wrong.
Okay, let's go quickly to Rose. Rosalind, yeah, because when you were raising, the reasons why we have to talk about gender equality, you mentioned the fact that, men seeing women as second class citizens. And I was just telling Kenny that yesterday, I was having this discussion with someone, and they said African men see African women as second class citizens. Okay, that was said by a Black American here. The reason we were discussing reasons why some of them they feel like they don't want to date an African man is because they feel that African men control a lot. But what are the things you think that men do in general? First, let's not talk about African men, but when you were talking about your respect, you just said men. What are the things that they do that make women like second class citizens?
Okay, so first and foremost, some people, in terms of the way they even like talk to women, they actually still have a way of seeing women as okay, okay. So in the case of whereby a woman is like a female boss and it has a male, what's it called, like so a male under him. Sometimes I've actually seen cases whereby a male boss would actually talk to a female boss in a way. A male boss actually talks to a fellow male, like, okay, guy, please do this thing. And even it might even like be very, very like assertive towards him, like, you must do this today. And he might just take it like, okay, yeah, fine, I'll just go. He might even be angry, like, oh, this man's wala is too much, and that ends with that. But if it were to be a female, in some cases, of course, not all men, some would feel like, why is she talking to me like that? I have someone like her at home. Things like that happen, like, who is she? I have someone like her at home, and they'll just like, feel like, oh, women, when they get to like, places of authority, meanwhile she's just been assertive. Some women are not, of course, I know that when it comes to issues about wickedness or something like that, some men are wicked, some women are wicked. So I don't always try to feel like maybe a gender is a saint or something like that. Like, you see some issues around, like with men, we also see some issues with women. So that's more, I always try to be objective. However, sometimes some people, even a man will show them wickedness, shaggy, but they will just see it as, okay, it's just doing that. But a fellow woman would do that and would say, oh, I have someone like her at home. And then in terms of education too, I've actually seen cases whereby maybe in the school setting, because I work a lot with schools and all that. I
Okay.
noticed that sometimes too, when a woman actually gets to be like first position in a department or maybe in class, secondary school, primary school, even some teachers will be the one telling like a man, like the boy, like, imagine a girl is the first, a girl actually is the first in your class and all that. So those sentiments, all those things still actually like even exist, and you feel like, okay, a woman is also capable of being intelligent. It's not like it's written somewhere that a woman cannot be intelligent or something like that. Another example I like to use, even in leadership, I remember when I was in OAU, and there was a particular lady who actually contested for the post of faculty president, and that actually like created a sort of issues with her, because a lot of people felt like, as a lady, why was she even contesting for the role of faculty president, that she should go and sit down. And some men were actually like contesting that she should go and sit down, Jerry, like, leadership is for men, like, let the men be there. So even in terms of female, and that's also one of the core work of my advocacy, I do with educational, like, gender discrimination, gender stereotypes in the educational institutions, and I also deal with female leadership, like what you have to navigate being a female leader still exist. Even when, if a woman says, I want to become a president of Nigeria today, she's not just facing issues as the fact that maybe people are not just testing her competence, they're also looking at her gender. Gender is also in play in terms of how people perceive her. So that's these are the issues really. And yeah, basically there are a lot of examples to really like talk about, but because of time, I just had to make that very short. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think Kenny has been able to tell them, men that feel that way, that do that, that they should stop doing it because that's not the right thing, to be doing. So, guys, if you're watching us from wherever you are, kindly please just drop your messages, whatever it is that you think about the discussions. Drop a message, a comment. We actually share it with the viewers. Everybody will see what it is that you are saying about all this. So, guys, we'll be moving because we're already talking about gender equality. So we all believe, like, okay, being equal, what it means. But some people said it is not equality, it is equity. How does that sound in your ears, Rosalind? Let me go back to Rosalind again. How does
Okay.
it sound?
Okay, yes. So the reason why some people actually, so for me, I still believe strongly in the word equality
Okay.
personally. But I think the reason why people think that equality might not be the right word to use, because they still have issues with the word equality, because they feel like men and women, they cannot be equal. At least they are different, so they would want to fight that. But I think for me, what I just, and a lot of people when they hear the word equality is like trying to say, okay, women trying to compete with a man, or women just trying to be like, exactly like a man. Meanwhile, I already said it, that gender equality for me does not mean gender sameness. Not at all. We are different. We have different this thing, but the fact is that we have the same value, the same worth. That's just it. Then talking about gender equity for some people seems less. It seems subtle. So some people want to go for equity because it's not screaming, oh, we are exactly the same. It's screaming, let's also give women privileges. So that's why some people want to go for equity. And equity is just more like, okay, so for example, now I have an organization and I feel like there are a lot of men in the organization, and I would like to employ maybe like 10 people. But now I'm very, very, like, very strategic in terms of having a lot of women in the new position I'm actually recruiting. So that's equity, giving women more chances, and you're doing that deliberately so that at least you create more room for women. But at the end of the day, I always tell people that equity is like a means to equality, to achieving that, level playing ground, so to say. So that's what I believe. So I understand the reason why some people may want to fight, like, equality, the word equality, why they feel like equity is subtle. But for me, equity is actually still a means to an end, like a means to that equality. So that's my home belief in short about the word gender equality, gender equity. And some people too are also very traditional. Even the word gender equality, even if we are still, even some people still fight the fact that men are even like, they don't even want, even when you are still trying to tell them that gender equality is still trying to say, okay, men and women have the same worth, the same value, they will still fight that. In fact, if
Okay.
I actually, I use Twitter a lot, and what some people tell me, that especially when I raise issues like that on Twitter, they'll say, "Oh yeah, come and carry this cement. Oh yeah, Shebi say,
Okay, Shibi, you said we're
Shebi
equal.
say we are equal." And I was trying to explain to them that no, it's not about that. Physical strength, you have it as a man, fine, okay. But I also have my strength as a, we should come together. It's about harmonious coexistence, trying to see how we can help each other. It's not about, fighting or something like that. So our weaknesses should help, like my strength should be able to help your weaknesses and vice versa. And I think that makes a very, like, peaceful and sustainable world overall. Yeah.
So, Kenny, does it mean that, okay, let me even ask you this first. What is it with men that they don't want to hear this language of equality? What is it?
Okay. So I'll start by saying that I think the basis for equality itself creates a kind of tension
Okay.
between a man and a woman, and we must really understand that this is not just happening. I would say that the early feminists, like the Mary Wollstonecraft that I mentioned during the first wave, Simone de Beauvoir, they've been able to re-engineer. There's a lot of social re-engineering that has taken place to make um, people see that yes, women have as much value in the public space, right? That they can actually go as far as they want. They can achieve as much as they want. But the understanding here now in this 21st century is female. I mean, feminists, extreme feminists, whatever
I mean, some
category.
people call them extremists, they call them radical feminists.
Exactly. So now this radicalism and rascality that has been put together as this their own brand of feminism is one that has to be looked at. And now I want to really problematize the issue
Exactly,
because
because we
because
actually
yes,
we will be moving into the gender roles, and then that's where a lot have to be
okay,
said.
okay, yes. So I'll keep that for the next conversation.
Okay.
But I would say this: the understanding of the reason why men are having issues with equality is because of the rampant confrontation that they have even faced from women, from seemingly this woke high achieving women that do now feel like, okay, because I have done so much, outside, because you have a PhD, I have a PhD, you have this, I have this. So at home, because the moment we start bringing the consciousness of equality, it means that we are trying to now that thing rubs off on our subconscious. Now, when a man does certain things, you feel like he's being domineering or he wants to subdue you. He doesn't want your very voice to be heard, and you want to be equal with him. Now, by the time you want to be equal with him, especially in that space, now I say this in the context of the private sphere where there is a whole lot of family structure coming in. Now, in the public sphere, a woman can, she can, of course, I mean, there are several women out there that they are CEOs of their company. They have so much leverage. They are coming in and out, and they can actually do so well. And I say this categorically also that yes, if I have a company tomorrow, when I have a company tomorrow, I would really enjoy, having a woman, manage the company because of the level of honesty. Of course, there are women that are so dishonest. There are
Okay.
several cases right now. The current minister, I mean, the former minister of humanitarian affairs, and lots of corruption charges coming for them, right?
Anyways, I mean, we should wait till when everything is clear. She's just a suspect for now.
Such a suspect until, of course.
Yeah.
So not putting that before, but I
Yeah.
mean, even before her, there has been lots of cases, especially in that ministry, right? The CEO of former Oceanic Bank, a woman, and several other things like that. That these are confirmed cases, right? Of course. Now exonerating the minister that is still currently in trial. But coming back to the issue of equality, I think that the moment we start pushing the narrative of equality, it sort of affects the psyche of the feminine gender. Now she becomes very paranoid. She becomes suspicious of any action or inaction, anything that a man does. Oh, I have to be equal with you. No, you should be human. When has been human? Now we are in a society where the number of your X chromosome do not determine your future, right? Now we are in an era where a woman can go as far as she wants. There is nothing stopping you. So the whole talk about equality for me is dated. It's something that ought to have been. It's something that is a conversation that had happened in the 17th century, 18th century, perhaps even the 20th century.
Okay.
But right now we are in an era of capacity. As a woman, do you have the capacity? You have the capacity. Go ahead and lead. As a man, do you have the capacity? Go ahead and lead. But in the home, there has to be order. There has to be structure. That is my understanding. Because by the time you carry the equality that you have in the outside sphere and you bring it to your home, and your man does one thing and you're already trying to overpower, and like, we are equal, we are the same. No, it is a call for contestation. It's a psychology, it affects our psyche. So for me, the idea of equity and equality, I mean, I'm very even much particular about equality now. For me, I think that it just creates an unnecessary tension between a man and a woman. And if
Okay.
this understanding is not checked, it will continue ad infinitum.
Okay, let's Rosalind, before we move to the next level, like we want to talk about gender roles now, especially in relationships and homes, because we are all young Africans. One day we'll get married. I know both of you are not right now, and I'm not. But okay, but do you have anything to say to what he just said?
Okay, yeah, I would like to say, talking about gender roles, I understand that people have different perspectives about gender roles. And even I use social media a lot, I use Twitter a lot, and at least this is like, our topic today is also about like what is the perspective of young Africans as regards gender roles. And I would like to say that people have different perspectives. There are some people that are still very traditional in how they view like gender roles. for them, they are actually very strict about what they think. Like, okay, yes, a man provides for the family, and a woman actually does everything in terms of nurturing and everything. And for some people, that is what they believe in truly. And even if some people are not flexible about that at all, so even if they get back, maybe let's say their woman actually gets back from work around, let's say, 10 p.m., she just asks to come and cook. Some are like that. Some people, even if their man is actually like going through financial problem, and they even have the money, they will not even like say okay, they want to help out at all, because of that traditional mindset. So that's how some people are really very traditional in terms of how they view all these issues. And but then one thing about gender roles is that most times, unfortunately, what I say on social media is that some men actually have this very traditional mindset. People are different according to what they believe in, but most times it's like they want to have their cake and eat it or something like that. They end up looking for women who have a different perspective as regards that area, looking for women who share the similar values in terms of that. So which creates this type of imbalance in the family. So I always encourage people that there are different family dynamics, and the best is just to be with someone who actually shares the same, shall I say, same values or same views with you as regards gender roles. But then, like I said, gender roles, people have different beliefs as regards gender roles. However, most times as a gender advocate, most times we just try to talk about the fact that people should try as much as possible to just ease the burden on each other, like ease the burden on each other. Like for me now, for example, my personal belief is that I wouldn't want my, like, people should just try. Families should actually be created in such a way that everybody comes to, like, it's like a 100%. I'm bringing 100%. The other person is also bringing 100%. We should try to help each other. If I feel like my man is financially incapable, I should be able to step up to that and actually help my man. If I feel like if my man feels like okay, I'm actually like incapacitated or something like that as regards some things, my man should also be able to help me. So that's just what I believe. But if you want to ask me some, should I say gender roles, what I believe in, I'm ready to also have that conversation. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we will be having that conversation,
yeah.
shortly. But before we go there, let's have the first comment we are having. Though someone from Instagram, I have a lot of things from Instagram. So please, those of you on Instagram, so if you have access, to Facebook or YouTube, please kindly, drop the comments there so that I can have them on screen. On Instagram, I can't have your, but let me read some. There is Ola that said, tell them that they should come and have pregnancy too now. So he's telling men that okay, they should come and get pregnant too if they think. That's Ola. She's here at the University of Mississippi. Dunya Digun say great conversation, you all. She said, how do we tackle equality in public space if we don't check the family units? So she thinks the family unit is important. What do we say to men that want their wives to contribute financially and still manage the home traditionally? Okay, so that's actually where the conversation should be going. The second part of it, we'll be looking at that, and then I think Kenny has a lot of questions to answer, and then Rosalind will also she also does. Raphael said, African men subduing women. It is not an aftermath of our cultural beliefs as African. How African men undo that negative cultural belief towards women. So she believes, yeah. Now he's saying that African men should find a way. How should they do that? That should be able to undo that belief, believing that African women are supposed to be so subdued. So Kenny, we'll get back to this. Okay, we'll get back to this. But we'll take a break and then we'll be right back. All right, thank you for joining us. And we are still here in the studio to the Horeb Nation Talk Show talking about gender equality, gender rules. And then we've been looking at this. I have in my studio with me Rosalind Adewiyi. She's a gender advocate. And then Kendi Tijani, who is a social analyst. And we've been looking into this together. We've talked about gender equality a lot, okay? And I think on this platform, we should be believing that, well, what it means, like Rosalind will say, the same way I understand it is that, well, women like that's the language ecosystem somehow, but when it comes to working, like they have the capacity to do, a lot of things that men do. So they shouldn't be regarded, as she calls it, at others ahead to second class citizens. But let's get back. Let's get back to this question of roles. Um, in like when you look at infrastructures, they are constructed by men. But there is language out there, Rosalind, that says, what a man can do, a woman can do too. If you do me, I do you. Man, no go best. All right. And there's so many young people out there today are so serious with this, to the extent that you hear, I don't need a man in my life. Like, I don't need a man, because he said, the belief is that, well, after all, I work, I have the money for myself. So what do I need a man for? So if you're coming to my life and I have to be spending money again, then what's the essence? So, as a gender advocate, because you mentioned certain things, I don't know, how do you deal with this? How do you, like, have you come across women like this yourself, and uh, how do you deal with it?
Okay, yeah. So when people talk about what a man can do, a woman can do better. Mm, it's actually a sentence I I would say I in a way, I would say, do I really subscribe to that sentence in the, shall I say, in the totality of it? Maybe not. I remember someone on Twitter actually made a post about women that, oh, women are actually claiming equality and they just want to try to be like men, that if they know that what God wants them to be, something like that, like, oh, you just want to be like men. And I had to respond to that person. I really can't remember exactly the way I worded it, but what I just said was that, come here, I am a woman. And I'm, because another thing is that when you're talking about, Tijani said that, some people see it from the prism of you're trying to like compete with a man, you're trying to be like a man, you're trying to feel like, oh yeah, this thing. But for me, I always tell people that being a gender advocate does not mean I'm trying to compete with a man. A man is not my standard in any way. God created me to be a woman. My purpose for me is actually how I am a woman, what I can do as a woman. I'm not trying to say, okay, yes, looking at, the way Yoruba will say, "Onwa agwala go shishe mi o wa go okunrin
Okay,
shishe."
okay.
Actually, not at all. Me o wo ago ọkùnrin ṣiṣẹ́ rárá. Like my own is more like I'm looking at my own ago as a woman to be able to fulfill that, purposeful destiny for me. So I believe that we have different and we are different. There's a way, there's a purpose a man carries. There's a purpose I carry as a woman. As I'm not looking at ago ọkùnrin. My own is just that, okay, as a woman, I'm also a human being and I can also thrive as a human being. So, and they say, what's it called now? My Yoruba is actually trying to pronunciate right now. That
Anyways.
that Ojo Orunfo, like for all the best to fly, something like that. Yeah. So
Okay.
for me, I believe that
John,
yeah,
thankful.
exactly. Ojúrere therefore, so like everybody can thrive, like even as a man, as a woman. So when I say a woman can do better, more like, yeah, I understand where it came from. Like, okay, when men, there was a pushback over the years, like, okay, a woman too can also do this better. But for me, it's not even looking at a man to say, okay, I'm trying to compare myself or compare with man. I believe that I have my own, no comparison here. I'm trying to look at my own, I'm focused on my own journey as a woman. So that is it for me in terms of this question. Yeah, basically, yeah.
So, but Kenny, okay, I mean, Rosalind seems a little bit, different from this perspective. But let's talk a little bit about what we hear out there. Like, even to the extent that today you have women who feel like, well, with this feminism, with my freedom, I have my role as a woman. So if I get married, I keep my name. And then possibly in African culture, it was never like that. But today we're having issues like that. We have, situations like that, and we have women probably sometimes combine their name and that of the husband, making their last name. But the ones that say she wants to keep her name, for example, we have situations like that. What happens to their children? Like, which name would the children be? Like, is it the man's name or the woman's name? What do you think?
That's a value-based question, and it sounds very comical to me that some women share this kind of mindset. Oh, I will keep my name. I won't let a man take my name away from me. I've kept it for a while. um, is still part of what we are saying. There is an affront against the institution of marriage. The structure of homemaking is being compromised. And by the time, like I say, there can't be two captains in a ship. Now that we are coming back home to the private sphere, There can't be two captains in a ship. The
But
moment
but Kenny,
you,
Kenny,
yeah.
women feel like, why can't they be the captain? Why must we be a man?
you see, that is para nature. That is going against the order of nature. I'm sure some people persons will say no, it is man-made. These structures
They are
are human
patriarchal,
construction.
patriarchal
It's
in
a
nature.
it's this, yes, it's the patriarchal society that is in effect. And I shudder and I laugh at these kinds of submissions. I think that the moment we start, um, we have established the fact that, and then this brand of feminism that Rosalind is holding is quite interesting and applaudable.
Or
And I mean,
is it because that favors you?
not necessarily, because I think this is it's just common sense. It's just good reasoning
Okay.
to hold that kind of view. You see, the extreme kind of feminism brand, perhaps Rosalind, you might start probably thinking of another name apart from feminism, just a suggestion, maybe something a lot more, because when we say feminism right now, the extremism that comes with it, yes, I know there are several brands, but there's always a tendency to, bring everybody together. It's an affront against men. It's now a case of, I can't, the moment I relinquish my name to have for another man, it means I've lost my right. It means I've lost my privilege as a woman. That is capital no. We have lots of amazing examples. The Okonjo-Iwealas that are doing so well, WTO president, and they still take care of their home. They still make sure that their husband eats at home. Their value at home, their value in the public sphere is still intact. They still have their husband's name. The Okonjo-Iweala wasn't her name; it's her husband's name, right? And then, so the mindset is skewed. It has to be reviewed. Fine. Some persons will say, oh, the reason why I want to keep my name and not, take my husband's name is because I want to keep my family's heritage. I don't want anything to happen. And then you're bearing a name, your husband is, and then you get to the embassy, you say you are married, and there is no unison. The structure already is placed in such a way that, yes, this has to be it. Now, exactly, people would give the instance of say Joke Silva and Olu Jacobs. Oh, they are still together, and they use that. There are conditions. There are certain situations. We don't know so much about that example to say full well that yes, Joke Silva and Olu Jacob did it, and they are still together. Using that as an example. Hence, I have to keep my name. And then when it comes to the issue of, I know these people, Joke Silva and Olu Jacob. I know them personally. I know their children. Their children bear Jacob, 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 right? All of them. Soji bears Jacob and all of that. At least there's that understanding. She's perhaps only keeping her name, but the children definitely would have their father's name. So the fact that, there is this strive, this struggle, and it's still this whole idea of equality. Equality. Why should I take a man's name? Why can't he take my name? Why can't my children take my name? Why should they? For me, by the time you start pushing that kind of narrative, for me, it has to be checked, properly checked. So this brand of feminism that is being pursued out there has caused a lot of immorality in the society. Now you find, I mean, with apologies to the Gen Zs and all of that, some of them have become extra confrontational. Ladies don't want to go into marriage. We gave the example of Mommy Z, since now we are mentioning gender roles, right?
Yes.
That woke up and cooked for her husband because she realized that she had the husband was getting food elsewhere, right? And then she did that, and a lot of feminists came out fighting her, and somebody even recently, Tasha, posted,
Yeah,
and
I saw
she
it.
made that comment,
Yeah.
how will you wake up in the middle of the night to cook for one hungry looking man? I'm like, what is going on? And that is why you find many of them are perhaps with single mothers, many of them are still struggling to keep a man because there is that contention and they keep doing it. Why should waking up at 4 a.m. to cook for your family is how can you call that slavery? We grew up knowing our mothers do that, and so many of them were never devalued. The
But
place
Kenny,
of it,
Kenny,
yes.
yeah, that's what this generation feels. They feel that the mothers during those days, they were subdued, they were forced to do those things. Like if we had given them the chance, they would never do it.
I wonder why this current narrative is now the actual a valid narrative. I think that yes, the moment a woman, so they've been able to, because feminism has been able to secure the right of women,
Okay.
they are gradually losing honesty with themselves as a woman, especially a woman in the home. We must not sacrifice honesty at the altar of rights, equality, because a lot of that is taking place. If our mothers are not, I recall, I can say, for example, in my own case, my mother would wake up, take care of things, and then I grew up even seeing my father assist her. Now what happens to a man assisting you and helping you, right, with taking care of you, doing this, he's also doing that, just to make the work easier and faster. I don't also agree with the fact that it's only a woman's role to wake up and cook and clean and do all of that. A man should also be a helpmate in that regard. Just as a woman can be a helpmate when a man becomes broke or financially stranded, and you're like, oh, let me assist my husband. The man should also equally, return the favor at that level. But guess what? The Who is in charge of the kitchen, who is in charge of the home, who is in charge of nurturing the house? It is the woman. It is the exclusive preserve of a woman, because the nurturing effect is feminine in nature, and we must understand that. That understanding must be put in place. Now, I don't agree with men that are becoming too bossy and turning their wives to slaves. I consider that wrong. Our mothers were not slaves. People that are pushing that narrative that yes, if they had the opportunity, they would have done differently. I disagree completely. I think that these women did it with joy because they know that I am taking care of my family. I'm putting my family in order. The structure of the home, how the home runs, they say a happy woman, a happy wife, a happy home. If the wife at home is not happy, the house is in disarray, right? So you should take pride in being feminine, in being a woman. Take pride in your femininity. Understand that your value in the kitchen is not subservient to a man's value elsewhere. That a man sits down and watch soccer doesn't make you shouldn't see it as a competition and say, oh, he's going out to watch football. Why should he be watching football? He should come and help me clean. No, understand, structure is time. If you have to do that earlier, if he has to clean the home, I say, babe, why don't you, help me, mop the floor, while I try to, prepare the baby's food, oh, I'm going to watch football. Okay, how about before you go to watch football?
But
Or
but
how about
Kenny,
after that?
but Kenny, that's the language that women don't like these days. Why should it be that she's saying help me? Why is it not something that you see that you have to do it too as a man in the house? Why?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Why? I
Yeah,
don't
go
know,
ahead.
Roslyn. Am I speaking your mind?
Yeah, I actually understand your perspective, and people have different perspectives about reasoning about this. And for me, it's just a lot of this thing. So sometimes it's like, why would you say, okay, you should help me? But the reason why some people we feel like, okay, let's use the word help, because men believe that, okay, this is not my duty to do. So if I'm doing this, I'm only assisting you. I'm only coming to just say, okay, mo fẹ́ bá ẹ ṣe ni, I just want to do it.
Because
Why
because
some people believe that, okay, it's not, why should we even use the word help or assist in the first place? Because
yeah.
we are living in this house together. So they were just like, okay,
So
you're
why am
washing.
I
So
helping?
someone like, okay, I want bami for come and wash the plates. You also use this plate for crying out loud. So some people be like, why am I telling
Because
you? Why should I
someone
say that? Okay, why
someone
can't I just rise up?
someone
So
just to,
there
someone
have been
told me
different
yes
perspectives about that.
someone told
Yeah,
me yesterday someone told me yesterday
okay.
that when you look at the Bible, that it says the woman is helping the man. Actually, the man is supposed to be doing the job, and then the woman will come and help. So
Yeah, I've
why?
heard that before.
Yeah, exactly, I've heard that. Just yesterday I heard it too, because I had the discussion. Kenny, so why is helping?
Okay, so the Bible, let's get down to the beginning of things. When God created Adam, and then there was Eve, and then for the Christian folks who are familiar with the story,
Yeah.
said I will make you a helpmate, right?
Hmm.
The understanding of help here is not basically to say that somebody has a role and then the other is only to assist. Of course, both of you are staying at home. You are both using the place. You are both, the floor is dirty. You are all of you are, using the house
Yeah.
basically. Now, I don't think it is wrong for a woman to ask a man for help. She's in the kitchen, she's working, and she's cleaning. I say, babe, I know, you probably have things that you're doing. Guess what? Our mothers did this. without even, many of them didn't even ask their husband. In my own case, I saw my father do that. I mean, assist in the house without even having to say certain things, right? Now, the understanding that men think that it is the role of a woman to do this thing exclusively, I consider while I agree that yes, a woman's the nurturing effect that a woman has, of course, dovetails into many of these areas, the
Okay.
kitchen, cleaning and all of this. I don't think that it is only a place. You are the chief operating officer of the kitchen of the home. You are the one that will say, hey, in fact, he says, hey, you are helping me. Could you please help me? Even my boss at work would ask me for help. She knows that I'm supposed to do the work, but she will say, okay, I would use your help here. Can you please assist me here? I feel like that is even a better way of communicating, because guess what? The understanding that yes, women the place of I mean, a woman usually are expected to, clean the home and nurture the home and all of that. It's not out of place because our mothers did it. Now, if you ask your man to kindly help me, could you please help me fix this? Could you please help me fix that? You are the one dishing out the instructions here. It should be even a thing of pride for you as a woman and say, yes, I did this. I made sure my husband did. I was able to help him. Now, the problem I have is communication. We are not talking about communication now, and that communication issue is a big issue on its own. Women, you need to do more in terms of communicating with your husbands or communicating with your men, because I understand that yes, I get so busy with a lot of work, house chores, and then this man is not assisting me. Communicate that. If you need some help, say, oh, babe, please, I have some dishes in the kitchen. Why don't you assist me, please? Just help me fix this. So I don't think that asking for help because you are both living in the house is wrong. You're just
Okay.
like the boss.
Kenny, yeah, but we don't have like this is really a conversation that could continue, for hours, but we don't really have much time. I hope we'll come back again. Probably when we come back again next time, we'll just be talking about gender roles alone and then leave gender equality because we all understand
Exactly.
what it entails. Rosalind, I know even with this type of feminism or feminist like gender advocacy with your expressions, you still get attacked sometimes. People don't actually appreciate, the way. And courtesy to AfroWeb TV, let me play this something you said the last time I had you on your show, and I want to know, after this, like how have you been dealing with this and then till now? Courtesy to AfroWeb TV, let's see what you said at that time. Look at earlier you were talking about probably seeing in schools where boys or probably girls are asked to be assistant to boys. Now, what are the worst comments you've ever received on your being on your Facebook, Instagram page? I know people will actually see you as a feminist. Tell us a little bit about those challenges. What are the worst comments you've ever received?
Well, when it comes to cyberbullying for you as a woman, especially when you're now a feminist, is actually a very big thing. So, a lot of people will just have different, perceptions about you, about your personality. So for me, being a feminist or doing what I'm doing, a lot of people will actually judge me. A lot of people associate what I do with maybe like toxicity toxicity and things like that. However, for me, that is not really my why. That's not my higher purpose. Mine is just to see young girls in schools and ensure that they are very, very empowered and enlightened in our society. So for me, most times the kind of comments I get most times revolve around the fact that maybe perhaps, a lot of people just link everything back to marriage. Like, oh, who would marry someone like you? You hate men, you are this, you're that, things like that. Some will even come like they will hurl insults at me, like, abuse, like, or dare, in Yoruba and things like that when we actually have some, exchange on social media. And shall I say, as a principle, one thing that have actually guided me is that no matter how heated the argument is, I will never abuse you. I will never insult you online. That has been a principle for me. And again, but then when I actually engage with people online, it has actually happened like, over and over again, whereby, they will all insult at me, say a lot of things. For me, it's just like a civil conversation, but maybe because the person feels, I really don't know, for some reason, some people can just, have an exchange online or even like argue intellectually with someone
doubt, like, insulting people. So those are the things I get: insults, abuses, a lot of projections about my personality. Some even might see me as, as this wicked person, this mean person. Then maybe in some Christian circles, they might see me as a sinner because I'm a feminist, and all this, different projections about my kind of person. So those are things, yeah, cyberbullying.
Well, that's a lot. That's a lot. Kenny, even with the kind of feminist she is, these are the things like she comes across. Because I keep watching that most time to see like what it is like for you, to be a feminist. So how are you dealing with that right now?
You know what? Before I actually go there, I just quickly wanted to say something about changing name in marriage and all
All
that.
right.
Just quickly. So for me, I know that that is actually another conversation. But I know you mentioned that, Mr. Tijani. I know that I'm not a Muslim, but I know that I think different religions also have their what's it called, their thoughts about that. Because I have Muslim friends, and I think one day I came across something like maybe for them they are not meant to change their names when they marry, and I confirmed that from a friend of mine. So that might be another conversation for another day, just to
Okay.
chip that in, that some religions too, like even Muslims, like my Muslim friends, some of they don't change their names, is a thing in their religion. So that could be something just
But
for
it does not affect their children's name. The children bear the
of course,
father's name.
it doesn't.
Okay.
So the woman just keeps this thing,
Her
yeah,
name.
this thing,
Okay.
yeah. Then okay, yeah. So talking about cyberbullying generally, I would say that, well, for me, I think once something happens to you like regularly, I think you just develop a thick skin over time. So I think over time, I just developed a thick skin towards all the abuses, all the insults, and all that. And now I think I'm used to it. And again, before things used to get to me, and I remember a friend of mine once told me that, Rose, okay, of course, you post something and maybe like you'd get like 20 positive comments, and you get like just maybe three negative comments, so to say, and you'd actually dwell on that. Why are you dwelling on three negative comments, for crying out loud? Why not just focus on the positive comments? And I think that actually, like, it's kept me going. Then for some reasons, I also, I choose my battles online. If there are things I know that would happen, I've never like been dragged, so to say, on Twitter before in a very strong way. Of course, maybe like five people coming at me and all that, but maybe like mob, like a whole like 100 people coming for me based on my opinions. I try to avoid things like that as much as possible. I don't have energy for that. So those are things I actually like put in place in order to just protect myself against issues like that. But overall, I just try to be objective. The fact that I'm a gender advocate does not mean that I have this bias towards men. For me, it's just more like I am a woman. I understand womanhood better. I understand femininity better. So I'm able to like really understand the realities of being a woman. And that's why when I also like talk about men issues too. So most times when I even want to talk to boys, I try to bring a man, because a man understands best the realities of a man. So but that's why it seems like I'm focused more on women issues. So I try as much as possible to be objective in everything I do, basically. Yeah.
Okay. So now, well, we are at the end. So what are we saying? Like, how do we summarize these? Gender roles, gender advocacy, gender equality, like, and all. Let me go to Kenny. Kenny, what are you saying to people out there? Like, how do you conclude this?
So women, appreciate your femininity, understand that you can go as high as you want. Know the kind of men that you engage with. On Make sure that you have a partner indeed across board. Don't see working in the kitchen and nurturing your home as slavery. That is a skewed mentality. Um, I understand the attack that Rosalind might face with all of this, because there is always anyone that carries the appellation feminist
Feminist, yes.
would definitely get those kinds of attack, because some persons are actually operating feminism at the extreme level, and it's becoming like a confrontation against men. They are trying to, restructure the order of familyhood. Like someone said, David, I think it was David, that is saying modern feminism has obscured the true intent and purpose of feminism, right? So men are reacting to this confrontation, right? So if we are this sort of advocacy for social justice, for women's rights, is absolutely correct. But the point where it now becomes a confrontation, it becomes something else. So I don't consider that brand very useful in the long run. Um, so I would just say embrace your femininity, women, understand your strength, and take advantage of whatever opportunity you have. You have your value, you can create your value, but you must also understand that the man is the head of the home. I rest my case.
Okay, Rosalind, your final words.
Okay, what I would just like to say is that I wish people could be much more open to the word gender equality, the word feminism. Yes, I understand that when there is an ideology, there might actually be tendency for us to have this, should I say, extremism. But one thing I actually noticed is that people actually, there are also this extremisms in people's religions, like Christianity, even like Islamic and Islam and all that, but people still give grace to the religion, the practice, so to say. They don't say because okay, my pastor is doing this, I wouldn't look up to Jesus or something, or Muhammad or something like that. So for feminism too, I believe that people should also think about the fundamentals, the basic, at the the very basic meaning of it, like equality, level playing ground for the two genders, and also feel like okay, they should give grace to the movement, so to say, that at least they should look at the positive side, like okay, it's not about, yes, the extremism always. Please give grace. The way you give grace to your religions or something like that, please give grace to the movement feminism. That's just what I would say. And in all, like I said, I'm actually in for harmonious coexistence between the two genders. It's not about fights or maybe hatred for men, or maybe issues like, okay, trying to fight each other, but both of us like coexisting in this world together and having a sustainable world. Yeah, overall.
All right, so I would want to say thank you very much, for actually coming on this show. Kendi, Tijani, Roslyn, Adewi, and to out there, all the viewers that have been actually watching us. We had different discussions here. I know the time is not enough, for us to actually cover everything. But Kendi, Tijani, and Roslyn, Adewi have actually done justice. They've tried their best, what we can say. So we hope we meet you again next time where we'll have more discussions. So Roslyn, thank you. Kendi, thank you. I'm sure I'm going to have you guys again next time because we need to continue with this
So,
conversation. We might
I,
have more people.
I'll love to be here again.
Yeah.
So let's keep the conversation on. Mm.
All right. So thank you so much. So, guys, we'll see you next time when we come back again. Bye.